Hi, my name is Patty, and I created this channel, Life Uncomplicated, to help people uncomplicate their lives from a mental well-being, mental health perspective. And today, what I'm going to talk about is the core of the understanding that I share that's currently known as the three principles. Now, the three principles were first articulated by a man named Sydney Banks, who had a very profound insight up on Salt Spring Island in Canada back in 1973. And over time, he introduced these principles to a lot of people, and psychologists and psychiatrists in particular, who now, over the course of their careers, 30 or 40 years worth, are now sharing and have been sharing these principles with their clients to help them find their own inner mental well-being. And there are probably a million ways to describe the principles, these three principles, and I will probably do more in other videos. But today I'm just going to share what occurs to me. And what occurs to me is to describe these principles as base components, right? And what I want to make clear is these principles are spiritual principles. They are spiritual not in a religious sense, but in a formless, invisible sense. You can't see them, but you can sense them. You can feel them if you're not trying to think about them too much. This is not an intellectual understanding. This is a spiritual understanding. And so the way that Sydney Banks articulated these three principles was three words. He used mind, consciousness, and thought. And these words are just a metaphor for a principle, a spiritual understanding of how the mind works, how our human experience is created, and how this works universally for everybody, no matter what. And it's in pretty much direct conflict, or what's another word to use? Direct opposition to how we generally think of how our experience is created. And one of the teachers from the principles, who happens to be a licensed marriage and family counselor, recently said, she said, basically, God said, let's make life a game of go find yourself and put it inside of people, but give them eyes to see an outside. So what she was saying in that is that we tend to look outside of ourselves for how we feel inside of ourselves. We look at life as if it is happening to us and not happening from us. So if this sounds really confusing, it's okay. And I just want to say I'm doing my best. And again, I will explain it more in other videos, hopefully in another way that will be easy to hear. But here's what we have today. So if you think of base elements, like if you're an artist, maybe you think of the primary colors. Now, when I was in school, there were three primary colors: blue, yellow, and red. And those three primary colors could not be broken down into smaller parts. And yet every color was a combination of using these three base colors, these three components. You know, if you combined red and blue, you got purple. But there were no two colors that went together to make blue, and no two colors that went together to make yellow, and no two colors that went together to make red. So these three principles of mind, consciousness, and thought, and a very simple way to put this is we're alive, mind, we're aware, consciousness, and we think, thought. Those are the three very simple ways of putting this. And it is by using these three spiritual, invisible principles that all of our life experience is created. We can't experience anything in life without being alive, without having an awareness of the thing, or having a thought about it, whether we realize that thought or not. And That is really hard to see because, as I said earlier, as that teacher said, we have eyes that see an outside. But if you stop and consider that this might be true and reflect on it for a bit, you might start to see it show up in your life. And when you do, you start to have little insights, little aha moments, little epiphanies that, oh, this is not happening to me, it's coming from me. So basically, what I'm trying to explain is life is an inside out experience. Everything we experience from inside comes from inside, it doesn't come from outside. Someone can't make you feel anything, even though it looks that way. Because if you weren't aware of something someone did or said, you couldn't have a thought about it and it wouldn't have any effect on you. Somebody halfway across the world could say something about you. If it's not in your awareness and you don't have a thought about it, it doesn't affect you. Can't. So this is my very first attempt to put this on video and put this on the YouTube channel to just kind of explain the premise, the elements, the three basic elements that come together to create all of our experience of life. And if it sounds really confusing to you and you say, how is this uncomplicating my life? I get it, because me too. But stop and reflect on it a little bit. Stop and see, is there anything that you can experience in your life without having a thought about it, without being aware about it, without being alive? That's it. That's how I'm going to share it today. And that's the way that's my best shot at it today. And I will come back again with another metaphor, analogy, another example, another way for you to hopefully start to grasp what I'm pointing at here. I hope this is helpful. I hope it makes sense. If it doesn't, that's cool. Watch it again. Reflect on it. Don't try to think about it too much. Don't try to figure it out. Just kind of sit back and ask yourself, is it possible? Is it possible that there are three spiritual, invisible elements that I can't see, but are behind the curtain, like the little man in the Wizard of Oz, it's actually running the show for me? Take a look, see what you see. It's really not that complicated, but we'll talk about it in another video. Have a great